Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger!
Welcome, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and in honor of Shout Factory's official DVD release, I will be reviewing Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. Also, I do want to mention that there will be some spoilers mentioned here. I'm going to try to keep them to a minimum. Before I begin, I want to start at the beginning. Due to the success of Tomoyuki's Godzilla, Tsuburayu's Ultraman, and Ishinomori's Kamen Rider, Toei decided to make another new tokusatsu series, this time called Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger. The series featured 5 humans who transformed into heroes wearing multicolored spandex. It was a huge success, and every year since the end of Go Ranger, a new incarnation of the series came out, titling it the Super Sentai series. Super Sentai evolved as the show went on in storytelling, effects, and designs. The themes to each series changed as time passed, with the 80s being heavily influenced in science fiction thanks to Star Wars. Then the 90s hit, and Toei decided to try something new as their showrunner from the last several years had just retired. At first, they kicked off the 90s with Jojujin Sentai Jetman in 1991, which was a homage to the anime series Gatchaman. Then in 1992, they took Sentai into an entirely new direction, this time combining a fantasy-themed series with dinosaurs. And thus Zyuranger was born. The series begins with a planet called Nemesis entering our airspace. Astronauts are sent in to investigate the planet. There, they accidentally free an evil witch and her minions who want to conquer the Earth. Bandora is played by the great Machiko Soga, who was a secondary villain throughout most of her career up to this point, so it was a real treat having her take the role of a leading villain. An ancient wizard by the name of Barza wakes up a group of princes and a princess who were put to sleep millions of years ago in order to protect the world from evil if the need arises. They are Geki, Tyranno Ranger, played by Yuta Mochizuki. Goshi, Mammoth Ranger, played by Seiju Uman. Mei, Terra Ranger, played by Reiko Chiba. Takumi Hashimoto plays Boy, Tiger Ranger. And Dan, Trikera Ranger, is played by Hideki Fujiwara. The series is broken into several story arcs, with the first being the introduction to the Rangers and their weaponry. In the second episode, their ancient weapons break and it turns out they are just useless in the modern era. As such, they have to venture to an island called the Land of Despair to find these so-called legendary weapons that were spawned from the necks of a defeated 5-headed dragon. Interestingly enough, the Land of Despair acts like a labyrinth, so who better of a monster for Bandora to send down other than a Minotaur? The Rangers acquire their weapons and we move forward to them having to gain ancient crystals that can merge their dinosaur protectors into one being known as Daijujin. One of the best things about Daijujin here is how much of a step up he is from the mecha of the past. A lot of the mecha before were very boxy and seemed to stand around more than fight. Daijujin has a good bit of agility to him and we get to see some truly exciting battles from the mecha. Not only that, but this is a turning point in Sentai in general where the mecha started to really become an integral part of the story, especially in this series as the mechs are also the gods. A few episodes later we are introduced to the series' main plot, which revolves around the last surviving duo of Tyrannosaurus eggs. They will show up several times throughout the series as they are important to the survival of the dinosaur gods. One of the things I would love to mention about this series is that it has a really good balance of comedy and drama. There are moments of silliness such as this. And then moments of seriousness like this. For kids, everybody. Now, you may have noticed here, but a lot of Bandora's monsters are based on creatures from mythology and fantasy. There is a minotaur, a sphinx, we have a snake that turns kids into apples, and even May herself is poisoned by an apple she is given and bites into. There is a pig that uses the name of Circe. A cyclops, Frankenstein's monster, a chimera, and so forth. The next big arc introduces us to Geki's brother Barai, the Dragon Ranger, played by Shira Uzumi and Grifazor's wife, Lammy. He comes in, beats up the Rangers,
Overkill. Double kill. Untouchable. Extermination.
Flawless victory.
soon realizes the error of his ways, and then helps in the fight against Bandora from time to time. Unfortunately for him, he was supposed to die during his slumber, so he has a limited lifespan remaining throughout the course of the show. As such, he only shows up every so often, but when he does, he kicks all kinds of ass. It is exciting to see him on screen every time because of how limited his appearances are. This is a prime example of how to do a 6th Ranger. Barai is given his own legendary weapon known as the Jusoken, which is used to summon his own mecha known as Dragon Caesar. He shows a lot of resemblance to Mechagodzilla right down to the Miso fingertips, but that is not a bad thing at all. Dragon Caesar is able to combine with Saber Tiger, Jew Mammoth, and Triceratops to form Gorujin. A little after the midpoint of the series, Bandora upgrades her monsters and the Rangers have to upgrade their equipment. One of the things I love about this is Bandora knows she has failed too many times to defeat the Zyurangers and needs to do something new. Using a new type of clay was a great idea on the writer's part, however it is never mentioned again. Obviously, the audience is meant to just assume all monsters and golems from this point forward are made from it, but it still would have been nice to hear about their supply towards the end of the series or something. The Rangers' new Thunderslingers are cool, but they are highly underutilized. Anytime they use their Ranger guns, they have them attached, but we only really see them use these about maybe 4 or 5 more times after this. It is interesting to watch them kill a monster with them though. Anyway, this arc also introduces us to Bandora's boss, Great Satan, and another new mecha known as King Brachion. King Brachion merges with Daijujin and Dragon Caesar to create its original form, Ultimate Daijujin. More time passes and Barai's life has finally come to an end. He gives Geki the Jusoken and his shield, which creates the armed Tyranno Ranger. Regrettably, like the Thunderslingers, we only see this form 2 more times. The final arc of the series brings back Great Satan along with a child named Kai and Pura Pura Khan's greatest creation, a mecha by the name of Dora Talos. And that is the overall basics of Zyuranger. The Rangers themselves are a really likable cast as they are all nicely diverse in their personalities, but they are not without their negatives. Geki and Barai are developed quite immensely as both members have their stories tied into ongoing subplots. We come to learn a bit about Mei and Goshi from their dedicated filler arcs, but Boy and Dan are left in the dust. We know next to nothing about what they were like in the past, nor anything about their families. They are really underdeveloped and they also have the least amount of screen time. For example, Boy hates carrots. But why? Was he molested by one as a child? This may seem insignificant, but this is also about the extent we know of him. Dan likes to goof off. But again, why? Was he someone who was forced to study really hard growing up that this is his only chance to be who he wants to be? Individual development aside, I love the team as a whole because they have a natural progression as far as being heroes are concerned. In the beginning of the series, they had to really learn how to work together to form the bond they had by the end of the series. Their costumes are also very striking and memorable. Their acting is pretty good, but a few of them, such as Mei, probably could have used a little more work. Now, the last standalone episode of the series deals with Bandora having her minions act as the Rangers to cause havoc amongst the populace. This episode is really great, however, this would have worked a lot better had it been earlier in the series as everyone is just suddenly against the Rangers. Had it been earlier, it would have made much more sense for the city to mistrust them, but by this point, they shouldn't have been fooled so quickly. On the other hand, it does allow for some great development among the Rangers as they wonder what they had been fighting for all of this time. The villains may not have the greatest character development in the world, especially compared to that of Jetman, but their presence is known. Also, despite some goofball moments, they are just such fun villains that you cannot help but be afraid as you run laughing for your life with a moment such as this.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold. Holy Jesus, what are these goddamn animals? Devil Ether.
I do want to mention that the upcoming bit is going to have some major spoilers for Bandora's story. As such, I'm going to put a spoiler warning at the top of the screen. I will take it down when I am past this part. In the 5th episode, we come to learn that Bandora absolutely despises children, but she refuses to say why. In the last arc of the series, we learn that it is because her son Kai was killed by dinosaurs and she sold her soul to Great Satan in order to extract revenge on everyone, dinosaur and child alike. This gives the series the motive behind having Children of the Week plots. As for Grifferzor, Lammy, Bookbok, Puripurikan, Totopot, we learn very subtle things about them throughout the show. Grifferzor did not have a voice, so both he and Lammy joined with Bandora in order for him to gain one. Not only that, but finding out that Grifferzor had a wife was shocking and added more to him as he originally seemed like a mindless goon. Bookbok wants to be smart while Totopot wants to have full-fledged wings. We are never directly told what Puripurikan wants, but it is hinted that he wants to be the universe's greatest sculptor. Some of these moments may only be brief, but it does give us an insight as to their motivations for being who they are. Like I said before, the mecha is a step up from the series that came before it, and they are an important part of the story, being that they are the gods of the Zyuranger world. The story as a whole has its positives, but it also has its negatives. The negatives come down to the majority of the episodes featuring a child of the week. Yes, I understand the show is aimed at children, and I do not have a problem with that. The issue comes down to that a lot of the kids in the show are just so poorly acted. Their crying feels forced most of the time, and they just can't hold an emotional face for more than 2 seconds without it looking goofy or unnatural. Nevertheless, the episodes are a lot of fun with some truly great fight scenes, and the designs of the Dora monsters are excellent. I think my favorite designs are Dora Sphinx, Zombie Frankie, and Dora Legor. The effects in the show are pretty good too, except for when they show dinosaurs roaming around in the past. Then it's not that good. In fact, you can clearly see they are toys. The music, on the other hand, is also incredible throughout the show. I love the music that plays when Puripurikan cooks monsters. The battle music is pretty cool too. Now, throughout the series, there are a lot of great episodes with some okay episodes. My favorite standalone episode that has nothing to do with the plot is probably Beware of Shaved Ice. It doesn't feature any Child of the Week, which is a nice bonus, but ultimately I love it for its cinematic moments. The plot of the episode allows May and Dan to step out of their comfort zone and play a variety of different character archetypes. Not just that, but the execution is just incredible to watch as it features a few gangster-like moments that wouldn't normally fit with the themes of this show. It is just a fun episode and is also one that doesn't even feature a single moment of mecha. On the other hand, my least favorite episode is the 11th one. Yes, my master. The children in this episode really get on my nerves. On a magic carpet ride, a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. But it's mostly because the effects are pretty bad. As you can see here, Jin's collar piece moves around a bit, and in this scene one of the jewels is even missing from the suit. This is just laziness on the part of the production crew, and I have no idea why this was not fixed when they were filming the footage. The Shout DVD itself is phenomenal and is everything we could have asked for. As you can see here, the video quality is exactly the same as Toei's own Region 2 DVD. However, unlike the Toei DVDs, this set has English subtitles on it and is of course Region 1. The translations all seem nearly accurate, but there are moments where the grammar is a bit off. Nevertheless, if you were worried the translations would be awful, your fears can be put to rest. Another thing this set has that Toei's DVDs do not is an additional bonus featuring a Zyuranger panel from Power Morphicon 2014 that Yuta was part of, along with the suit actors for Tyranno Ranger and Dragon Ranger. It is an interesting panel to watch. Overall, Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger is a very solid show all the way through. It has a great cast of characters, be it hero and villain alike, even if they are not the most developed. The series itself was revolutionary at the time with its mecha and its permanent 6th Ranger. Yes, it does have the Child of the Week plots, but if you can look past those, you are going to have a great time. I give the show 4 grown-ups in spandex out of 5. Well, that is all the time I have for this episode. Goodbye.